So AIR Gold throws this out there.
Rumor has it that Hurt Syndicate have refused to put people over. MVP has been influencing Bobby and Shelton to say no to things. MVP has backstage heat with important people in creative. MVP has issues with speedball. HS time in AEW may be coming to an end.
That would be awesome if Tony bought them out, and they should go to TNA like they should have at the start and go reunite with Cedric Alexander and go do some big popping over there. That would be way better. What's the second point? MVP has issues with speedball. Yeah, because listen, man, when real martial arts guys, here's the first things first, okay? And we're going to cover this, okay, again, because we did in the past already on the show, and I talked about it, like, and the polls in the chat, who would win in a shoot, Lashley or Bailey? Listen, we learned in UFC 1 that grappling martial arts, unless you're Steven Wonderboy Thompson and are like the outlier best of the best to ever bring a karate style to a high level in mixed martial arts, unless you're like MVP, Michael Venom Page MVP, that whole karate style and the kicks and everything, that don't work in MMA, bro. Oh, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. That don't work against D1 wrestlers or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown and black belts. It don't work. I'm sorry. Like, they figured out how to nullify that a long time ago. Yes, there are exceptions. Chocolate Elf ushered in an era of the sprawl and brawler, right? Where everyone was getting wrestled. So then guys like him figured out, oh, like him and Vonderlei figured out we can sprawl and brawl these, and Mirko Krokop, and they realized like we can stuff the takedowns and brawl. But now in this era, like just being a specialist in Taekwondo, and then if you were to square off with someone who's just a specialist in grappling, I think 9 times out of 10 in a real situation or an MMA fight, the grappling guy wins that fight. Okay. I'm just being honest. I don't think it's not that MVP doesn't it's not issues with Mike in particular. And maybe it is. Maybe MVP comes on a show and goes, nah, that guy. But it's just a matter of hey, he does this flippy karate and he's cool, but he's like a French Canadian dude. Lashley's a world champion in every company he's been in. He's a legit mixed martial artist. Like at one point in his career, you could argue he was maybe top 20 in the world, maybe even higher than that. He has a great record, a way better record than Brock Lesnar did. He didn't fight his highest competition, but high level of competition. Lashley's that dude. And then you have Shelton Benjamin, who's legit as too. And then, and MVP's a black belt or a brown belt, I believe. I'm not sure if he's got his black belt yet. He's just a guy who's like, man, we don't, I get Tony Khan in your mind, like that fake martial arts that is cool, but that's not what we do. And that's why they put him in there with Moxley. Death Jitsu, bro. Yeah, man, Death Jitsu. It's like death, but jiu-jitsu, bro. And then he's losing white belt tournaments. Notice Bishop Dyer winning purple belt tournaments left, right, and center. He's not like, yeah, I'm a Death Jitsu, the clutch jitsu, bro. He's not doing that, dog. And he's a real, Bishop Dyer's really out there. Moxley, I'm the Death Jitsu clan, man. Yeah, dude, it's totally radical, man. And so, guys like Lashley, and they don't take that seriously. For 1 second. None of that did they take serious, okay? And so it's just a matter of that. And it's unfortunate that Mike Bailey's caught up in Tony Khan going, well, I signed Mike Bailey this week and Kevin Knight this week. I know they're a tag team just because. And they're going to fight Hurt Business. And Hurt Business are like, we're not putting these guys over. There's tag teams out there we're not putting FTR over. We used to clown those guys backstage in the Fed, bro. We used to make fun of them after they left. We're not putting those guys over. They lose to the Bucks, bro. We'll put the Outrunners over or something, which is what MVP has to say, which we're going to get into. What's the next point here? MVP has backstage heat with important people in creative. Yeah, man. I don't know if it's important people or peoples who stooge to important people who, and then that can be misconstrued as heat with important people, or now he's got heat with quote unquote important people because people are stooging to important people and kissing up to important people. It's quite interesting to say the least. And knowing the professionalism, though, of the Hurt Syndicate, this will all work out fine, in my opinion. I don't think like MVP, if you sit down in a room with him or if he calls Tony Khan on the phone, they can't just be professional and work this out. Now, there's something to be said about like him just being vocal, and then a bunch of cliquey people backstage are like, oh man, he's just rubbing everyone the wrong way and he doesn't get down with shit, if that's the culture back there. But if he just doesn't play into that shit and goes, well, fuck it, just talk to me, man to man, we'll figure it out, right? Hurt Syndicate's been all over this show. I don't know if they're all over it, but they've been on the show. And so MVP has been influencing Bobby and Shelton to say no to things. Good, as he should. And he should be influencing them to say yes to things that might be good business moves for them. And he's taking care of his guys. So that's what you're supposed to do. The claim internally in AEW was that Hurt Syndicate said no to pitches of losing to FTR at both AEW All In and Forbidden Door. Instead, MVP had stated that the team preferred to lose the championships to younger teams. MVP's personal preferences were that of Gates of Agony. Again, people go, oh, it's Timu Bloodline, but nah, man, Gates of Agony are cool as fuck. And what are their names? Toa Leon and Bishop Khan or whatever. And I mean, come on, they have a great look. They would be an awesome tag team. If they're in WWE, they'd be booked fucking tremendously. I don't know if they're part of the family or the Samoan dynasty or whatever. The Outrunners and Private Party. So the Outrunners, again, put them over. Private Party even. So see, Tony Khan just slapped the belts on Private Party, then went, you guys are gone. And then WWE's like, we'd be interested in them. Okay, you guys are on the bench now again forever. You're done. It's so fucking cringe how they do this, man, and how Tony Khan continues to do this. Worst booker owner ever. And it was, noted that Hurt Syndicate has already beaten all three teams. Well, then, Tony, don't beat all three of these fucking teams. Don't do that. Don't, learn to book properly. The frustration from the locker room is that the team are heels that do cool moves, beat up everyone, and give fans fives on the way out. Okay, then, Tony, put your foot down and say, you guys are heels. Don't high-five kids. If you fucking do, you're getting a fine. Heel all the fucking way, and I want you to beat the shit out of everyone. Lashley, you and Samoa Joe, world title. The fact Lashley and Joe isn't for their world title right now is a fucking travesty. You know, it's crazy. They're going back to Mox and Hangman and Darby and shit. No, ludicrous. Luda. So, the locker room feels this way. Okay, so that's on Tony Khan. Why is that heat on these guys? Holy shit. So then one of the rumors people on the AEW talent roster spoke to, they said that this year was the best they've seen the locker room in years, and that most of the roster just dismisses issues. But then we have people saying, and then very next fucking thing, it has been well known backstage in AEW that MVP dislikes Speedball Mike Bailey, and then it's like, the claim that MVP rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in AEW. So listen to this. The claim that MVP rubbed a lot of people in AEW the wrong way, resulting in heat, is something that had been echoed by a number of talent for the last couple of months. But the report before, you're saying that everyone just dismisses issues and shit. It's just so goofy back there, man. Let's just be honest. So it has been well known backstage in AEW that MVP dislikes Speedball. A number of talents say that MVP made that clear and that he didn't want Hurt Syndicate losing to Jet Speed. It hasn't been said if it was in the cards for Hurt Syndicate to lose to Jet Speed. Nobody spoken to knew a specific reason for MVP's dislike of Mike Bailey. I just explained it. at the top of the shit. And why? Because I grew up doing martial arts. You know that. You just understand that when you spend time. We grew up in an era... I grew up in an era where Steven Seagal and shit was cool, right? And Bruce Lee had passed away, but I grew up watching all of his shit. I got all his shit on VHS. Steven Seagal was cool. Time Cop, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that shit, right? I loved all those movies. They're based on Bullshido was a thing. All these fake martial artists used to exist back in the day. Some of them still exist to this day. There's a lot of people who claim they have Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts who don't, shit like that. But there were Count Dante's and all these Steven Seagal. His whole shit is a lie, Frank Dukes, that Bloodsport's about, that whole Kumite shit is a lie, And so, and I'm not saying that's what Mike Bailey is. He's not lying about, I'm not a real martial artist or anything. He is. He's a legit martial artist, but He did Taekwondo. That's like a base that in and of itself, unless he like kickboxes and does Muay Thai on the side and has fucking hands that I don't know about, right? But also like Lashley's 100 pounds heavier than fucking Bailey. So there's just so many factors. Like Lashley would just take him down and gorilla smash him. There's no question about that. But anyways, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But MVP on frustration with AEW, he said, let's just say this. Bobby Lashley is a former world champion. And after we came here, Bobby was reduced to a tag team guy. Bobby is literally the only bankable guy in AEW. It's true. Bobby and Joe. Bobby and Joe. Bobby and Joe. Bobby and Joe. That should be your main event picture. How many times do we got to say it? Joe is a proven commodity to AEW. Proven. Okay? The motherfucker drew them 4,000 or 5,000 people for that cage match against Moxley. The TV ratings do well for him. Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate. People like those guys. You could have had Shelton in a meaningful feud with MJF. You could have Bobby feuding for the world title against Joe. And they had an MMA match for Hager and Wardlow. Do a fight pit style, do the TNA cage match thing that Joe and Angle did. Try and do a similar style thing between Lashley and Joe, dude. It's right there. Like it's right there. The money's, it's just right there. You don't even need to be a good booker to be like, well, we got to put that together. You know, it's just right there. So I agree with MVP. He needs to stand, and it's not fuck Mike Bailey or anything. I'm a fan of Mike Bailey and shit, but sources claim that Speedball Mike Bailey was busy playing video games backstage at an AEW taping and didn't bother to introduce himself or shake hands with MVP. This was taken as locker room disrespect, and MVP disliked him since that day. So again, whether that's true or not, this all, by the way, comes from a Spaces. Some guy went on a fucking Spaces and was stooging and shit. And so MVP responded to this guy trolling. What does he have to say here? Some fucking sicko. Is this true, MVP, or are they lying on your name? And then MVP says, lying as usual. So he even called it out 4 hours ago. Lying as usual. So here we go. This is what it's all about right here. This is what it boils down to, okay? We have Cheeseburger and Joey Janela, two indie guys. Now, we covered this on the show before, and here's my take on the whole Mike Bailey versus Bobby Lashley shit. And I'm going to break down why Joey Janela is wrong here. Janela says, because Mike Bailey is a 4th-degree black belt and would have a real shot in beating Bobby Lashley in a real fight if he kicked him in the jaw. That whole thing is so stupid. In a real fight, so what does that mean? An MMA match? Because that's utterly untrue. And if you're talking, no, a real street fight, well, then I could bring a gun. You know, I could break a bottle and fuck it. You know what I mean? We're talking, I could bring 10 boys then. Who's going to win, right? That's not real either. And also, in street fights, it's something like over 70 or 80% of street fights end up in a ground tussle. You know what I mean? Where people end up like on the ground flailing around and shit or wrestling around, right? Right? And then also, if he kicked him in the jaw, dude, if I let my fucking 9-year-old niece kick me in the jaw, could knock me out. You know, maybe not that. Maybe that's an extreme, but like, yes, if you let anyone kick you in the face, you could get knocked out, right? So if Lashley's not letting him kick him in the head, then what? And also the weight difference. I don't know. It's just a real shot at beating him in a real fight. I don't know about that, Joey. And seeing your fight with that fucking guy on that indie show, I don't know if you're the arbiter of good fighters. But Cheeseburger says this: Speedball could legitimately kill 90% of people in pro wrestling. Absolutely not. Okay. Matt Riddle would fucking wreck Mike Bailey. Okay. Gunther, I think, would have a shot. Nakamura, I think, would wreck Mike Bailey because he knows how to wrestle and shit. He used to train with Tito Ortiz. We could run down the list. There's a lot of people. I think Aleister Black and Mike Bailey would be a good fight. I would give it to Black because he'd tie Mike Bailey up in the clinch, take the distance of the kicks away, like the range of the kicks away, and then fucking tie him up and knee him to the body, hit him with elbows and shit. Because he, Miro, I believe, kickboxed or did Thai fighting to some degree, maybe not at a professional level, but training an amateur like Aleister Black. I don't know if 90% of people, I think Shelton Benjamin would stretch him. I think MVP, if he got a hold of him, would stretch him. I think Kurt Angle right now would stretch him, okay, with his fucked up arms. And I'm not hating on Mike Bailey. It's no disrespect, but we're talking like sexy BJ Ray is a good enough amateur wrestler, that kid on LFG, to where if he got a hold of Mike Bailey, we figured this out in UFC 1, okay? We figured out that if you're a kick-based martial artist, that shit means nothing if you have good boxing and wrestling. If you're fighting a good boxer and wrestler, you know, or like a guy with solid jiu-jitsu and who knows how to check leg kicks, you're fucked. So anyways, though, pro wrestling and likely 100% of people that complain about wrestling on the internet, I would say he could probably kill 90% of the people who complain about wrestling on the internet. Maybe that's more. That's like when Joe Rogan's like 4'8" and he's like, I bet like 95% of people on earth I could beat. 95% of people on earth. I don't know. It's just it's weird. And Joe's one of those Taekwondo guys too. You know, he's legit at jiu-jitsu, but he's one of those fucking Taekwondo dudes. And it's like, you got to have boxing, you know? And there's footage of Joe Rogan sparring with a fucking kickboxer who's just toying with him and just making him look so bad, you know, like that. I'm telling you, that Taekwondo shit only can take you so far. And Taekwondo, I don't think they really teach you how to throw those like kickboxing fucking. When I was young, I took like a Taekwondo class. You know what I'm saying? It was like one thing. Like I took karate for a bit. It's like a kid martial art you do. Not shitting on Bailey either. And here was my quote tweet on that. And how funny. There's heat amongst them, apparently, allegedly. And at the same time, like a month ago or whatever, this was floating around, or a few months ago. How funny is this? So I quote tweeted and said this back then, July 9th, so a month ago. I love Speedball Mike Bailey, have been a fan since the beginning of his TNA run. I'm a huge Bobby Lashley fan and have been for like 20 years. In no universe does Mike Bailey beat Bobby Lashley in a real fight, unless he's Wonder Boy Thompson and gains 100 pounds. We discovered amateur wrestling, Rex kick-only martial arts in the early 2000s, to say the least. Like, you could even be like, well, no, in the 90s, we figured, okay, it was late 90s, early 2000s. We kind of established if you can sprawl and brawl and have decent kickboxing, you can nullify some wrestlers. But otherwise, you know, it's just like wishful thinking. So we also have an update, though, because Hurt Business like approached your boy Speedball on the fucking show, or maybe this was on social media, to sort of address the rumors. Now, if I had to bet money on it, MVP and the Hurt Business walked up to Mike Bailey at TV, and Mike Bailey's not a piece of shit either. This is not to trash Mike Bailey. I'm a Mike fucking Bailey fan. I think he gets way too much hate. I think Tony Khan's booked him horrendously. I think it's terrible. And I like his like flippy kick, flipping knee stomp style and all that shit. I do like that stuff. And I am a fan of him. And it's not just because he's a Canadian, right? I'm not all nationalistic. Is that the word? I'm not all tribalistic for my nation, dog. Like, I'm just being stupid now. But it's not about that. It's just a matter of I'm a fan of the dude. I am. And I like that barefoot ninja style shit. You know, you guys know that. Like, I don't get triggered by like Rio and shit. You know, oh, she's like a little ninja flying around the ring. Like, I don't get so triggered by that stuff. I'm kind of into it, but it is what it is. But yeah, with Mike Bailey, I'm assuming they're all professional enough to just walk up to each other, shake hands, and go, it's just business. Like, it's not, and Bailey's not going to cry about it. He doesn't take this shit too seriously, or himself. Here, we have a clip of them meeting up here tonight. This looks like probably before they went live or whatever.
Fuck you, Speedball. Well, fuck you too, MVP. Hey, tell him. Fuck you, Speedball. Fuck you, Speedball. Well, fuck you guys too.
See, they're just making fun of the situation, so don't be shocked if this is all blown way out of proportion. However, MVP's standing on business. That's not made up. Like, that's not a maybe the heat is a little bit blown out of proportion, but he's standing up for his guys, and he's willing to say, no, don't do this. But again, man, it's not like they're not going to walk up, fucking fist fight each other backstage, man. They're going to shake hands and be like, we got to work. Like, we're going to work together. And so if we end up seeing Hurt Business lose to Jet Speed, then there you go. But Tony Khan, You know, people were sort of clowning Tony Khan and saying, oh, look, there's more backstage drama. And we have Fightful reporting literally within minutes of themselves going, oh, nobody cares about the backstage drama. Oh, there's all this backstage drama. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm more interested in the who would win in a fight aspect, right? And maybe they're working everybody, but Tony ran to the rescue, like right before Dynamite went on the air. He's like, oh, it just announced, Speedball's taking on Mox in this bullshit death jitsu. Like, of course, Mox is going to go in there and let him do his martial arts shit. I'll legitimize you, kid. Fuck those guys. Yeah.